Okay, hello everyone. I'm welcome back to another AI Marketing Stacks episode. And today I'm here with my guest Don Hayley, who has a really powerful, interesting story and a lot of cool things that he's working on right now, related to AI, related to finance, and heavily in the marketing space. Um, his story is that he was a CPA, still technically a CPA. Then went on and took on a client, Nick Santanastasso. I say that right? Look
Yeah,
at
that's right.
that. Who is an influencer who's been alongside people on stage like Tony Robbins, etc. So motivational speaker and influencer. Motivational speakers, correct, right?
Yep.
For that. And Don helped to sort of blow up his entire brand. So going from the world of CPA accounting to marketing and a lot of speaker management. And now what he does is has a mastermind where he works with, you're gonna have to say the name, Algorithmic Investment
Okay.
Amplifier.
Yeah, I'll talk about that.
We'll talk about all that in a little bit. I'm gonna give you just the teaser. But a lot of really incredible things. And the reason why I brought him on is because he's using a lot of really powerful machine learning tools and techniques. So it's the perfect intersection again of everything that we do on this podcast, which is the world of marketing, and the world of AI and how we can bridge the two of those together. So Don, thank you for being with us today and super excited to jump in.
Yeah, man, mutual, and thank you for having me. It's awesome.
Awesome. Um, so I guess like I'd actually like to hear a little bit more about that story from where you were before as a CPA, and then what inspired you to be like, hey, here's this guy. He has a really powerful story. Here's Nick, and I want to like get him. I want to promote. I want to spread his message, and then what that actual process looked like, because I think that's a really it's probably worked better than you expected, from what I know. So yeah, I would love if you could tell a little more of that story.
For sure, man. Yeah, so I started my career at Ernst& Young, CPA. Going back a little bit further, I was self-financed. I, put my way through college. As a prep cook, dishwasher, busboy, right? So been financially independent since I was 16. And then, so that took me into public accounting, Ernst& Young, did that for a couple of years, gained like 40 pounds, was super depressed.
Hmm.
Just was in the machine, I was like, okay, like I'm just a number on a spreadsheet here. I'm not really like anybody of value to this ecosystem, right? Even though I was a high performer, I didn't really feel like it felt like it was my destiny or my calling, right? So I ended up leaving just because I just wasn't aligned with me. And I started a CPA firm, CFO services for eight-figure entrepreneurs in private equity and real estate, which really started me to understand how these entrepreneurs work at a high level. And then from there, I was doing that, and then we met this guy named Nick, and it was my buddy Ratmir and I. We were previous business partners in a previous business. We did like events, like for 6 years together. We just crushed the event space, hospitality, and all of that, nightlife. And then, we're roommates. So we met Nick at this mastermind in Tampa. It was just like a low key mastermind at our friend Chandler's house. And basically, what happened was he told a story, and basically Ratmir was like, dude, you could be speaking on stage with Tony Robbins one day. And we're like, he goes, who's Tony Robbins, Nick? Like, he was a young entrepreneur then, right?
Hmm.
And then basically fast forward, the office was based out of my house. We set up their company together. And then from there, we worked for free for Nick for a year, and no pay, nothing, just really scaling the business, traveling on the road together. And from there, man, just the way it worked is because we all three were focused on the same mission, right? I still have my CPA business on the side. I had to drop some major clients in order to travel a bunch, but other than that, I still had a generating some revenue, and I just decided this was my calling. Like I want to get into personal development more because Tony really shifted my life. Because
Hmm.
I went from that overweight accountant, depressed, to shifting my model, like my entire mindset in life, into my new CPA business. So I was like in a bunch of credit card debt, and then reframed my CPA license, started a business because I went to that Tony Robbins event, right? So um, I love this space. I wanted to get into it. I'm like, bro, like, any way we could support Nick in building out his mission, we did. And what we did was, because all three of us are really good at, we had that event company, like Nick Ratmir and I, all of it, we're really good at like infiltrating networks and like finding the key people, right?
Hmm.
So finding the key people and finding the people that are valuable to an ecosystem, and then building a relationship and rapport with them. So what do? We just found those people, and then we brought Nick in front of them, and we just kept consistently doing that until we got to the top, which is Tony Robbins, right?
Hmm.
And then Tony hired us to speak at, hired Nick, our company, right, to speak at UPW, and at one in Dallas in 2018. Yeah, 2018, and then from there we got the entire global circuit, right? So we were in Singapore, Sydney, Australia, we had a bunch of European ones before COVID. This was before COVID. And yeah, man, it was a really cool story, really cool experience. And then COVID happened. Obviously, that live events business really took a hit. And then we pivoted to digital marketing, and that's how we started diving deep into that space. And yeah, man, that's kind of history ever since. And now I'm launching my own mastermind called Grid Masters, and one of our key products is this algorithmic investing amplifier, which you're trying to mention earlier. So
Which I tried to pronounce first.
yeah.
um, that's super cool. One thing that you said, or one thing that seems to be like a core thread throughout your story, is being able to connect with key players and network with them, right? Even when you said had my own CPA firm, it was with like 8-figure business owners, et cetera. And then the way they got to Tony was, let's find the key players and find the key players. That's something that I feel like is very intimidating for a lot of people. And it could be because of like self-worth conversations or a variety of different reasons. What allows you, what gave you the experience to be like, I can do this, or the skill set to be able to do it, or the confidence to be able to connect with different people? Because I imagine that most people, like, who are said, I'm going to get like connect with Tony Robbins, like they would put up so many limiting beliefs and barriers before they even got to that stage. So what is it that is going on within you that allows you to do that?
Yeah. Well, initially, just the belief, right? So it's
Mm,
the confidence that you can do it. And then when you get in these rooms with these high level people, you just treat them like peers. If you're automatically looking up to people, right? Like if you're looking up, right? So you're already devaluing your energy, and people can feel the scarcity and lack. If you come in with like equal frame, not to say like I'm trying to say I'm equal to Tony. It's not, he's a giant, right? He's impacting hundreds of millions of lives at this point, right? So, but we never really we had exposure to Tony's team, right? So even when we were partnering with Tony, we only got a few minutes with them every event. It wasn't like we were like dealing directly with Tony. But generally, when you want to go to these, get access to key players, they all have teams. So what people really don't realize, they glorify this figure when their right hand person is just right there to access, right? For
mm,
Nick, right? People can hit me and wrap me up instantly and get access to Nick if they built a relationship with us, right? Because we saw them take an action, right? Obviously, it has to be good intention and filtered through our beliefs and values and all of that, but people don't realize it's not, you don't go after the main person ever. I never go, if I'm trying to get to a key player, I'm meeting all of their people around them and befriending all of them, and then just by association, now we're friends. And now, like, because I'm in this group, the key player is like, oh, he's one of us, right? So it's just
mm,
like, it's a different strategy. I know it's not really difficult to understand, but it really just comes down to actually wanting to meet high level people and build value and build relationships, right? And when you have an outcome in mind, like you have an intention, right? You do want to connect with these people for a purpose, right? Like we wanted to get with Tony, but work with Tony, but we didn't know how we were going to. So what do? We just befriended his right hand people and just sent them updates and added value, and eventually it came to us, right? It's not like a scarcity or a lack mindset. It's like, okay, how do you position yourself to be in that person's ecosystem? And you do it best by finding the key players, support roles, and the people that actually make big decisions in their ecosystem. Does that make
yeah,
sense?
yeah, 100%. I think the distinction is you had an intention, but not necessarily like an agenda. It had to look this way. I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to strong arm and control the situation. You had your intention, and then you just went out, made connections, made real authentic relationships, and then let everything else kind of work itself out.
Exactly. Because if you ever try to control the outcome, it's never going to go exactly expected, because humans are going to do things differently, right?
Right.
So we didn't intentionally for it to happen that way, or we didn't, have an agenda for it to happen that way, but we had the intention of this is what we wanted, and whatever happens in between the outcome and the action is, up to God, the universe, right? So
Yeah,
whatever you believe. So yeah.
absolutely. So what is it that you're working on right now that has you the most excited, and why does it have you so excited?
Yeah, man. So I've been building for a very long time, right? I've been marketing for other people, building brands, doing all this stuff for a long time, and I'm very excited to finally launch my own. It's like my accumulation of my life's work, and the introduction to it, the introductory offer to it, the financial offer is this algorithmic investing amplifier because of a couple of reasons. I initially started with okay, I want to coach elite entrepreneurs. I want to show them how to invest. I want to show them the things that I've learned from a mentor that spent 6 decades in the market, $1 billion in assets, really mastering market cycles, because that was his thing. Like he lost 30 million in 2000 in the dot-com bust. And he's like, oh, I need to master these market cycles. And then from
Hmm.
there he did. And that's what I've been studying from him for over a year, right?
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to teach entrepreneurs this. I'm going to show them. And I realized this is a friction offer, right? Like entrepreneurs, I'm creating a learning offer for busy entrepreneurs. I'm like, well, they're already busy. They don't want to learn, you know, they just want to get
Right.
like multiple times, like, oh, do you have a hedge fund? This sounds amazing. Can I just give you 250 grand? And you know, you do it for me. Like, well, I don't have the fund set up yet, so no, but I have this mastermind. You know, this one-on-one coaching offer. So I was just getting a lot of friction, even though people wanted to give me money. I just realized there was friction there. So I also had this opportunity where I've been analyzing this algorithm for a while, and I just kind of had it in the back burner. Like, okay, this is cool. I'm going to test it, but you know, until I really realized you know, Hormozzi's value equation, right? The desired outcome and the likelihood they'll achieve that outcome. Well, the desired outcome of multiplying money is pretty much everyone, right? And then
Hmm.
they go rely on financial advisors or invest in hype trends or oh, what is that? I'm not.
These Zoom updates are amazing. Yeah.
uh, it's doing great. So they'll go rely on like traditional strategies, and they'll be told, "Hey, invest in this XYZ. You'll get 8 to 10% a year, and you'll be happy about it." Meanwhile, they're taking your money and then they're going to do their things where they're getting, you know, hundreds and thousands of percent return on, right? It's like once you understand how the game works, uh, that is how it works. Like they use algorithms, they use all these things that are really powerful where they're able to multiply their money a lot faster, and they just give you your preferred rate, right? So um, identified, okay, most entrepreneurs want to multiply their money, but they have losing strategies because they don't have the time to research, and they'll invest in hype trends or hype trends or friends recommendations, right? You saw in the last crypto pump, I was like, I've been telling people for months, like, hey, like I called bull run back in March. Hey, on my story, like, hey guys, like we've been in a bull run, we've been in a bull trend. You probably should position up, you know. And then the last couple of weeks, everyone was setting me up. Oh, I'm like, bro, like you're already way too late. Like it's like, not too late now in the overall macro cycle, but like you shouldn't be buying into the FOMO pumps. You're going to lose money, right? It's just
Right.
how it works. You should be buying and positioning prior, right? So no matter what, that likelihood of you know, the top part of the equation, the likelihood that they'll succeed is not very high because every person has a different experience level, time in the markets, also action taking, like, and also psychology. Because in investing, it's all psychology. It's you versus you, right? Uh, you versus the market. But at the end of the day, it's a zero sum game, and the market's most likely going to win because it's designed that way. It's designed for exit liquidity. I know I'm talking a lot, so interrupt me at any moment.
Oh, you're good. This is awesome.
uh, so so basically, a lot of the education out there, think about technical analysis, a lot of things you learn about trading if you just were to Google trading and buy the basic level course. It's all propagated. The same thing as the news cycles, news stations, all propagated by banks and education systems for exit liquidity, right? And this isn't really talked about much, but if you think about it, the banks that own the news stations, they control the global narrative, right? So if they control the global narrative and what most people believe, um, why do so many people lose in the cycles, right? Well, because it's a zero sum game, and the banks are positioning themselves to win. And zero sum game means only there can only really be one winner on the side of a transaction, right? So somebody has to lose in order for somebody to win, right? That's just how the game works, and they design it in a way with you know, obviously the global beliefs, believing you can only make 8 to 10% a year, which isn't true. Like I can prove it. Um, Depending if you're willing to go into more alternative strategies,
Hmm.
and it's designed so people FOMO in to the hype market. Oh, they call it a bull run, even though we've been in a bull trend for a long time now. You know, they talk about recession, they talk about all these fear things. I'm not going to dive deep into macro today, but like we're in a bull run, right? And they might do some manipulation, they might do some things that fear people out more, but ultimately, we're going to win. Like we're going to win if we know how to accumulate, right? So back to the value equation. I know I want to keep people on track. So we have the desired result. People want to multiply their money, right? Most entrepreneurs want to multiply. You want to multiply your money, right?
Yep.
Okay. But the likelihood changes based on their psychology, their time they enter the market, et cetera. So, and then you have time, right? They don't have the time, and et cetera. So basically, I identified this algorithm solves this perfect value equation, right? They don't have the desired result is there, right? They want to multiply their money. The likelihood is consistent because it's the bot. Do you know how many times or how much or how many trades a human has emotional availability for, like per day?
No.
So it's two, right? It's diminishing returns after that. But after
Hmm.
two trades a day, your psychology and your emotions are significantly getting diminished per trade after that. So
Hmm.
some of the best traders, they'll talk about only doing two trades per day, et cetera. So, but that's manual trading. The algorithm does 150 trades, 200 trades a day, and consistent, precise, precision. It doesn't have emotional. It doesn't matter. It's like it knows its outcome. You know AI, right? It knows exactly its goal, what it's trying to achieve, right? So that's how you're able to have a bunch of micro transactions, 150, and still have consistent profitability. It's not crazy. You're not getting 1,000% gains, even though it could compound to that, right? Depending on your risk tolerance and how aggressive you push it. But we see an average of 8 to 10% on the bot, right? So the likelihood that they'll achieve it significantly increases now that we take the human component out of it, right? So that and then the time component is massive, where all they do
Right.
is install it in their software, right? So it's their software. They license it from us, lifetime license for a one-time fee, and then we have a monthly recurring to maintain the developer, all that stuff, whatever they need support on in the community. But ultimately, they have that lifetime license, and it's their brokerage. They keep 100% of the profits. I hate, like, because a lot of these things that come out and they try to take profit splits and they do all these things. It just gets a little gray. Like, I'm a licensing company. I license it, and a coaching company. We coach you and we license you, right?
Hmm.
So that's the main thing and the differentiator from a lot of these other weird offers that try to take your profits out of your brokerage account. And I don't like that, because then you're getting in the gray area of like a fund, right? So it's like, as a CPA, I practice as much protection as I can for these entrepreneurs and these people investing. Like, we don't even allow people to get an 80K plus account unless they show financials and proof of funds, because we don't want people to like be leveraging their house in this algorithm. And like, I heard a lot of these stories in the last bull run. People are doubling down on their investments, buying Bitcoin miners, and mortgaging their house. It's like,
Yeah.
I've seen it all, man. When you're in the space, I'm sure you've seen it. It's like they get the FOMO and they really hurt themselves. And me,
Hmm.
as like an NLP master trainer, and like I genuinely want to help people. And then being a CPA, like I create these protection elements that allow people to multiply, but also there's protection elements where they can't try to overextend, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
does that kind of answer a lot of your
That
questions? Or
does. No,
okay,
that's amazing. That's amazing.
thank you.
How did you even because your background is in you have a background in finance, you've been mentored under the gentleman you mentioned who had the $1 billion in assets. So and then you have the marketing background. Where did you get the technical expertise to sort of step into, or where did you find it to be like, hey, I'm going to create this? Because to me, a complicated, like, that's something that's so outside my zone of what even feels much less competence, what feels like possible, of like,
Mhm.
I'm going to go and create a trading algorithm. How did you do it, and what gave you sort of the impetus to be like, I'm gonna create an algorithm around this, besides obviously the value equation stuff that you brought in, right? Algorithm makes it so much better than manually learning the process.
Yeah, of course, man. So I'd like to say speak it into existence. So when I started this journey of developing my own offer, I'm going to all these affiliate events like ClickBank, Digistore, all these high level guys, and telling people, speaking out what I'm doing, right? And then these people, this person has a financial offer, this person has a financial offer, this person has a financial offer, and this person has an affiliate list. So I'm speaking out into existence, and just by warm networking, I got access to the person who developed this, right? So I'm partnered with him in this algorithm that's been running since 2017, right? So it's been going on for a long time, being
Hmm.
developed, and it's really started crushing these last couple of years, right?
Hmm.
So I personally didn't develop it myself, but because it has the traction and I vetted out the system myself, and I have seen hundreds of testimonials with it, kind of deal. So it's like my thing is vetting, right? So like, do you know the 10,000 hour rule?
Hmm.
So becoming an expert in 10,000 hours.
Yep.
Well, I believe in leveraging 10,000 hours, right? So like finding the mentors, finding the experts, finding the people, the quant guys that have done it, right? Like I'm not trying to be the quant. I'm not going to ever be the quant guy. I'll just find the quant guy, like
Yep.
I'm the networker, deal flow, offer maker, right? Like that's how, like, because I'm able to connect the dots at a high level, that's how I was able to develop the irresistible offer, the irresistible, the product that we have, right? The AIA. Because if I didn't see this opportunity, if I didn't already have my background in investing and trading, if I didn't already, I wouldn't have been able to connect all these dots to
Yes.
create software to help entrepreneurs, right? So it sounds like it's easy, but at the end of the day, it took probably thousands of touch points for me to come to this conclusion and even realize that's the offer I had initially. Because like I met this guy like, I don't know, probably a year ago or something like that, and like I don't know exact dates, but like a while, right? So I've been vetting out for a while. I didn't really realize this is because I was still leading with this coaching product. I was like, no, I want to help people. I'm trying to, like, there's so much injustice in financial education. There's so much of this bias. And like, I was like, I need to coach these entrepreneurs and teach them how do these markets work. And then when I was just missing the value equation, right? It's like, okay, I had a few guys sign up for sure, like, 8-figure entrepreneurs, but one guy was very consistent, learning, deploying the strategies. One guy was like, hey, just give me deal flow because I get really cool deal flow in crypto. And the other guy, same thing. He's like, just teach me some crypto stuff, like teach me where to put it. But like they would be flaky. Some of them would be flaky on the calls, right? And I was like, okay, well, why is this? Well, because there's friction, right? Like a busy entrepreneur is going to take a deal over training and investing, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
this, one of the guys is doing like 8 figures a month now in solar, right? And he's like, and solar farms, right? So it's like he's not going to take, he's like, dude, just tell me where to put my money. Like, but I can't jump on all these calls, right? So like, if I'm trying to get these higher level guys, they just want to give me money, right? So
Yep.
I'm like, hey, I don't have a fund set up yet, but we are setting up a fund, especially January 1, we'll have a fund. So going into the next year for crypto and US equities, partnering with really high level wealth manager or money managers on both of them. So I'll be like the fund manager there. The GP. And yeah, man, it's all coming together. It's exciting. We're starting with this AIA offer because we can get a lot of wins and trust and accountability for an ecosystem. And then from there, right, build a nice solid mastermind, invite only mastermind here in Vegas, and then probably do an annual European retreat as well. My
Nice.
thing is just building community, bro. Like I want to build community. I want to build wins for people, protect them on this wealth journey. I got some really cool access when it comes to protection of wealth too. Like my lane's multiplication. I won't pretend to be the expert in protection,
Hmm.
but I have people that are like the experts, right? Like the top tier experts when it comes to wealth protection. It's pretty cool, man. Everything's coming together when you just speak. Back to my whole point, I'll loop that back together, is that speaking into existence, right? If you're not telling people of what you want to do, if you're not telling people what you're doing, even though I didn't have a financial offer in the moment, it's like I am doing a financial offer. Like that's what I'm doing. I'm launching, like, even though I didn't have this offer at that time, like I had a coaching offer. I was telling people that, and that's what gave me the results that I want, right? Because I kept speaking it and telling people, right? So, does
Yeah.
that answer your question?
No, 100%. Um, yeah, I mean, my brain is moving at a million miles an hour with different things. I mean, one of the first ones is that I think is really a powerful principle. Which again, it's not groundbreaking, but it's one that's easy to forget, which is, knowing your avatar and understanding exactly which resource. Everyone has some sort of resource limitation, right? And so some people's resource limitation is money, but they got plenty of time. And some people's resource limitation is time and they got plenty of money. And so understanding those really, really fundamental basics in marketing make it so much easier, right? Which is like, I've forgotten this time and time again, and I need a reminder. Like, all right, time, money, those things. But the one that like kind of stands out to me as a theme in a lot of what you're saying is, um, are you familiar with Naval Ravikant's like three forms of leverage? You mentioned leverage. It's like code. I might butcher, but I think it's code, media, and labor. Those are the three forms of leverage that he talks about. For anyone who doesn't know, Naval Ravikant, founder of I think it's Angel. I forgot the exact name, but it's an angel investment company. He's a billionaire and has some amazing like resources on growing your wealth and things like that. How to get rich without getting lucky is sort of his most famous one. He talks about those three forms of leverage. But one that I've seen and heard a lot, and I feel like it's in your story, is like relationship as a form of leverage, right? When you know the right people and you know the key players from speaking out in existence, from having the self-worth conversation that allows you to go and network with people who are high level without putting them on a pedestal, like that allows you so many different opportunities, right? You have access now to people who are experts in asset protection, like you mentioned. You're able to meet the quant guys who are able to give you the algorithm. And I think that's such a powerful skill to have, because in order to, and it's really difficult because in order to have high level relationships like that, I think you have to do a lot of work on yourself,
Sure.
because your relationships are always going to be limited by the own limitations you put on yourself. And I know you mentioned Tony Robbins helping you. You mentioned NLP. What is your? I feel like this is integral to your story. Is what has your personal development journey been? Where are you at with it now? And I'm just curious about that.
Bro, like, yeah, I'll be honest, like there's very few people on earth that have as many hours in PD as me.
Hmm,
Events, I think because we're partnered with Tony, we did like 15 with Tony. We've done Joe Dispenza. I've done countless masterminds.
hmm,
Uh, I'm always learning audiobooks every day. I mean, books behind me, right? I'm always up leveling because I had a key learning. I mean, back to Tony again. Grateful for him, right? Like he talks about the six human needs, and growth and contribution is when you're going to feel the most like fulfilled in life, right? So
hmm,
fulfillment is what we're really achieving, right? Like our goal in life is to feel happy, joyful, and fulfilled, right? Everything we do for money, everything we do in life to make money is to create the outcome of joy, right? Like we get money to create experiences which give us joy. We get money to give us food, which gives us joy, right? So it's just like these are the things at a foundational core level. We just need to understand that joy, laughter is what we're doing this for. And people get all caught up in like the material and all this, like, it's like, okay, that's cool. But like, how many wealthy people, like after they hit like a certain threshold, like it's irrelevant, right? Like once you get your first one, like your first Lambo and your first house, it's like, after a certain financial level, your life doesn't change that much, right? So it's like, okay, now it's you versus you again. Like, what's your internal journey like, right? Like, you have all this money. Are you going to keep it, or are you going to sabotage it because of your internal self, right? And a lot of people do, and MLet talks a lot about this, is the thermostat, right? They'll crush it. They'll absolutely crush it. They'll crank their thermostat or their identity up, but their thermostat's not following, and then it'll crash back down, right? So it's like you got to turn that identity, and mostly everything in life comes down to identity, what you believe about yourself. And I love that you keep touching on that, is because what you believe about yourself is that whatever beliefs you create is what you're going to project into the world. So we learned in you learned in NLP that perception is projection. So what does that mean? Our unconscious minds, which is 95% of our behavior, triggers, everything we do and experience in this world, 95% of it's unconscious, right?
hmm,
So the way your mom speaks to you, we used to speak to you when you were a baby, and a girl speaks to you that same way, it might trigger you. You might not understand that foundational unconscious thing was because your mom spoke to you that way, but it triggered you and made you angry, right? And typically we attract partners that are similar to how we were treated when we were young. Yeah. So it's like, as you heal those emotional things, now you're able to open up your world and open up your environment. That was my journey, right? So I did, Tony, and then I hired NLP breakthrough coaches. I know the whole journey to become a master trainer in NLP, right? So like all of that stuff was like foundational elements of, I would say, my psychology and like what I'm able to create. But we were already doing, we already built Nick to. I didn't get to NLP until we were already partnered with Tony, right? So
hmm,
there's levels of like development that you're always going to be going on, and like I'm still growing every day, man. There's always more. Like when I'm actually going to an event called Money and You by Doria tomorrow, and I'm skipping F1 to go, personally evolve myself. Right? I live in Vegas, so like I was like, oh, do I go to F1 and network with all these high level people? So I invited all these high level events, but I was like, I already have a really high level network. I would prefer to do something that's going to involve me. Like I'm going to have growth, right? And she keeps inviting me, and she's a beautiful soul. But the reason I say that is because I was on a call with her, and she's like, when I was 30, I thought I knew everything. When I was 40, I realized I didn't know that much. When I was 50, I realized I didn't know anything. So it's like, because like that's what you need to understand, is that, um, there's values levels, like in consciousness and all, understanding the emotional vibration. Like all this is very proven energetic, right? Like breaking through. to courage, like out of fear and into courage, right? Out of anger and into courage. Like that's your first real step to, getting into love and the higher vibrations. But the based on your vibration, and the reason I bring all this up is your perception is projection. You remember the unconscious mind and the emotions. Well, you're vibrating and you're projecting out your reality. And every person has their own reality based on their emotions, based on their previous experiences. So your goal, people's goal should be, if you want to attract high level people, you need to vibrate at their frequency, right? And the way you do that is by removing the past traumas, removing those things, and really healing through it, through forgiveness and evolving that identity. Because once you're able to evolve that identity, you're able to attract high level people because it's in your perception now, because you're a high level person, right? You wouldn't be able to perceive high level people if you weren't a high level person, right? So it's just like, by perceive, I mean the energetic vibration of them, right? Because they come into your field based on all of these things. I know I'm getting a little esoteric here, but this is all proven science. Like it's
Yeah. And anyone who watches this or knows me knows that I love the esoteric stuff, right? And there's tons of science, but anyone I've talked to who has had some sort of success, whether they use those terms or not, has some sort of that same conversation going on within themselves, right? They may use a different vocabulary for it, but it's very similar, and you can see those patterns, right?
yeah.
And the other question that I have is, and this is not the direction I expected, right? Because at first I was like, oh, like financial, like algorithms, cool. Let's talk like quant stuff. But I feel like this is really the backbone of a lot of their success, amongst other things, of course. But how do you maintain relationships with high level people, right? If your network is your net worth, you have an amazing network, it sounds like, right? That's allowed you to do all these different things. How do you maintain relationships like that?
Yeah, I guess it's my thing is always adding more value than you ask for, right? Like I have a huge, I guess, relationship bank currency. I guess if you call it relationship currency, I have a huge relationship bank where I've never asked majority of these high level people for anything, right? Like I don't typically ask for much, right? Maybe that's something I need to work on receiving more because these people would be willing to give, right?
Hmm.
But at the same time, that's what also got me here, right? Because I've always been willing to give more than I take, right? So it's just like how you do anything in life. The more you give, the more you're going to receive in the long run. It might not be immediate, but it's all positioning, right? So it's like you're positioning yourself for the long run, and eventually, God, universe is going to give you that outcome, right? It might not be in the way you thought, but because you're consistent, because you have good intentions, because you have faith, and yet it gives you the powerful associations to really, really maximize your potential, right? So if I just called up some of these high level people, it's like, hey, I really need help, or hey, can you guide me on this? Hey, I need some advice. They'll answer because I'm not the guy that got their number and was like, hey, you want to buy this?
Hey, I need
Hey,
this. Yeah.
hey, can I have this? Like, I know you know this person. Like, I never do it. Right? So it's like, at least in time, multiple touch points, multiple real life events, and I think a good book for people to um understand. I don't know, something just came to mind, like oversubscribed. I just listened to that recently, but he talks about the 7-4 7-11 building trust in relationships. And I just did this unconsciously, but it's like 7 hours together, 4 different places, like and 11 hours or something. I forget the exact metric, but that's how you build like raving fans and or
What was the
friends.
name of the your
Called
mic cut out a little bit at one point?
oversubscribed. So
Oversubscribed.
yeah,
Awesome.
very powerful book. I just finished it. Really good. So it just came
Oversubscribed.
to mind to share here. So
That's good. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely read that. Because
good
that was
book.
that was a selfish a very selfish question for
Yeah.
me. But yeah, I'm gonna check that out. What's the most like surprising thing you've learned about marketing and having like created this new offer that you have? Like, what's something that you've learned? You're like, ah, shit, like either it was a great reminder or it was just something that was surprising or interesting to you or something that's been captivating your attention.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just like you think this is the one, right? Like I was like, oh, this is it. People need this. Like this is I'm solving this problem. Meanwhile, you have the major offer just sitting over here. Like you're going all like so. Just be like obviously you're ready for it when you're ready for it, right? Like but being open to adapting, right? Because if I was not moldable, if I didn't have a great growth mindset, if I wasn't willing to be wrong, right? Like I admitted I was wrong. Okay, they do need this, but is this a scalable offer? Is that's not what I need right now? I mean, we're still going to have this available 100%, the one-on-one availability, like it's going to be available because I want to help people that want to be helped, right? At a high level, right? So it's available to them, but it's not what I'm going to market with. It's not what I'm going to pumping ads to. It's invite only. It's, it's a high level offer, right? So it's like I was building this for scalability, and I was like, oh, okay, I was wrong. That's not a scalable offer, right? Like, even though there is one-on-one offers that are scalable, and like, scalable, those guys, Ryan Dice, are doing that, right? So it's like, it's exact. That's Joey's the one that I spoke to about that idea, like scaling a one-on-one offer, right?
Hmm.
So Joey runs their sales stuff. So I was gonna leave it that, and it's a great thing for especially business owners and all of that. It's great. For investing, though, most people in investing, they already have their business, right? They just want to learn to multiply. So what I identified is business owners know how to accumulate, right? They know how to do plus and minus, right? They know how to market. They know how to put a certain amount of money into their money machine and make money out, right? A lot of entrepreneurs, this gap to multiplication, they're so focused over here, they don't have the time or information or resources to
Right.
bridge that gap. So to multiplication. So we provide the bridge, right? We provide the resources, the tools, the information, the things you need to really support yourself on this multiplication journey. And then from there, multiplication, you have protection, because identifying, talking. I'm sure you speak to a lot of entrepreneurs. Just having conversations with them. Most entrepreneurs that I've spoken to have made it and lost it all multiple times. So it's like, okay, what does that mean? Well, you've learned how to make money, but you haven't learned how to keep money, right?
Right.
And that's one of the hardest things in our world, because, and it's not really your fault, or the person listening here, it's not really your fault. Why? Because we have a system of materialism designed for propaganda to make you buy stuff and overspend and get in debt. Like, it's really savage, right? So once you really zoom out and understand, like, you're being programmed unconsciously, back to the unconscious 95%, you don't even realize, like, somebody could be listening to this right now and driving their car. Unconsciously, they're driving their car and they're focusing on us, right? Like, but they're also absorbing all the information around them, and their unconscious mind can only focus on a small fraction of the data they're getting from their unconscious mind, right? So you don't realize all these ads that you're getting hit, all of it's getting installed, and all this stuff, right? So it's a really, social media, even different machine, right? So it's like,
Yep.
because addiction, dopamine. I'm not going into all these things, but uh, you can kind of see the trend here, right? So our unconscious mind is taking all this information and was designed in a way to put us in this trap, right? Debt traps, whatever, right? Like materialistic traps, because when you're in the machine, you're stuck in it, right? But if you know how to get out and zoom out, right? Like, that's where the identity stuff comes in, and really teaching people how to multiply things safely and get into these kind of systems and structures that we develop to protect and multiply. Um, yeah, man, I'm diving deeper into this. This is more like, I know I'm trying to give a lot of ideas into like a simplistic thing.
I love it.
But yeah, so the main thing is bridging the gap from um, accumulation to multiplication, and then supporting on the back end for protection with some advanced experts and strategies. So that's a really overarching theme of everything we're doing.
And I mean, what you said about like pivoting, um, the offer is really key. And this is the actual thing that's in my journey right now. Like this week is sorting out your relationship with being wrong and being wrong publicly. And what I notice is that's a difficult conversation for every human being. Some people have different reactions. Some people never take risks because they're afraid of being wrong. Other people take risks, but they'll argue that they're right forever, and they'll never admit that they're wrong. But I think having a good conversation about being wrong, willing to take risks, to recognize when you're wrong, and to make a pivot is such a powerful. It's a simple skill, but so powerful that it will reward you. And that sounds like that's what allowed you to kind of work your way into where you're at now, right? Which is working way better. If you just stuck out and been like, no, this is how it's
Yeah.
going to work, you're willing to be like, look, I did this, it didn't work out, I got the feedback, and then I adjusted, and now you're seeing way more success with that.
Exactly. Positioning. It's all positioning, man. And
It's all positioning.
be
That's
willing to be wrong. Yeah, exactly. It's a growth
100%.
mindset, because dude, you know this, man. Every entrepreneur, you have to be willing to fail. It's going to happen. You're going to have somewhere in your life. If you're an entrepreneur, it's almost guaranteed. It's guaranteed you're going to fail somewhere, right? Maybe in the campaign or whatever, right? It doesn't matter. You're going to lose. You're going to lose. You can't win 100%. There's no such thing as a linear 100% curve, right? So
Yep.
like investing is high risk, high reward, but most of the time, if you position with the right research, it's not about the risk, right? It's about research. So that's how this is how you really win when it comes to identifying these things, is if you're failing, but you're also had like, I had a ton of research going into that offer. It works, but it doesn't work in the marketing world, right? Like it's not at least it probably would, but it would take a lot more effort than this offer, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, what positioning do I want to be in to attract these high level people? And
Yes.
what level of research am I willing to do before I go public? Because it's not about the risk, it's about the research, right? If you're more researched, and especially in investing, you're that's how you really win and how you multiply your money, because you add that layers of conviction, because you have the data, right? So just to close that loop.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's really good. So Don, where can people find more about you or find out more about your offer, if they're interested in learning more about what's going on in your world?
Yeah, definitely. So Instagram is my main platform. So at Don Hayley, DonHayley.
Awesome.
And yeah, you'll see a wait list on my Instagram for access to the algorithm at AIA, Algorithmic Investing Amplifier. And yeah, all things are good, man. It's exciting times, and grateful to be on the show with you, man. Super stoked to find out more about what you guys got going on and collaborate and create wins.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, thank you again for being on here. And yeah, I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Sounds good, brother. Have a good
All
one.
right, bro. Ciao.